Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm a child psychiatrist and parent coach, and I'm also a mum. And if you've been watching me, you'll notice that I've had a bit of a change of scenery, just fancied something a little bit different. So today I'm going to talk about whether it really matters what happens when children are very, very small, especially when they don't remember a lot of things that happen, when they're very tiny in the first few years of life. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. The answer is yes, it does matter. In fact, it starts mattering even before they're born, even their time in the womb. It is really, really important. But certainly the first few years of life absolutely matter to a child's emotional development. And when parents contact me for support, that's one of the reasons I actually usually spend quite a long time with them for the very first session, just getting to understand what it is that's happened with this child and what's happened in the family, especially in the early years of life, but also as they've grown up. Because actually, without having that information, I would really struggle to know where it is that I can support parents, because it's absolutely vital information for me to understand where a child's behaviours or difficulties with emotional things might be coming from. The brain is developing so fast in the first 3 years of life, so different things can affect it. And even though the child doesn't remember it, and often parents say to me, well, they won't remember the things that happened when they were tiny, or if, for example, if a parent's been in an abusive relationship, they say, well, child doesn't remember that happening. It doesn't actually matter. We do know from research that the brain circuitry is affected even though the child doesn't have any conscious memory of it. In fact, sometimes it can be harder because it's pre-verbal, so before a child can talk about it, can sort of verbalize what happened to them, often they don't have access to that information, but it could still be affecting the way that they are as they're growing up. So definitely that thing is very, very important. But it's also important to understand that just because something difficult might have happened early on in a child's life, it might be things you had absolutely no control over, like maybe your child was quite physically unwell and spent a lot of time in hospital, or maybe you were physically unwell and had to be in there, or perhaps you have mental health difficulties which can also affect children. These are things that are outside of your control, but it doesn't mean that your child, that's it now, there's nothing that can be done, they're scarred for life, it's too late. The brain remains very, very able to change, and though it changes slower as they get older, actually the brain can change. So even if your child's a bit older and difficult things have happened, it doesn't mean that there's no point thinking about them or trying to understand how you might support your child now, because the brain can change. And even when I worked with adolescents, their brains absolutely can change even from very difficult things that have happened to them earlier on. So if you are a parent of a very young child or a baby, it's absolutely fantastic time for you to research a bit more about what affects them, and just to try and create the best environment for them if you can, and also think about your own health, because that's one of the main things that affects kids, is actually your own mental well-being and your own health. And if your child is a bit older and you're really worried that perhaps their early years were difficult, it's still a great opportunity to think about what you can do differently now, how you can adjust things to help them heal from whatever has happened, because actually the best time to start is now. It really is very, very important. So go out there, find out the information you need, and do the things that you need to do to help your child develop in the best possible way and reach their potential when they become an adult.